All right, welcome everybody to the, what's the date today? November 5th meeting of the Public Works and Planning Commission. And glad everybody made it. The first order of business would be the approval of the minutes, and I would like to call on Vice Chair Steve Piercy for that approval, please.
Chairman Cush, I have reviewed the minutes and they seem to be in order, and I move for their approval.
All right, we have a motion to approve. We need a second.
Second.
And we have a second from Mr. Sereno. All in favor, please signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, Katie, hold tight just for a minute. I'm going to look down the list. Tanya, you're...
2 minutes, I'll be out of here.
Let's bring you on. So let's have building codes and reports. She says 2 minutes all the time.
I promise. No, I'm going to take those one.
All right.
Mike, I think I just broke his ear.
Did you break our... Oh, man, well...
Here, there's your foot.
It's not my computer.
Oh, is it not? Oh, no.
We'll fix it later.
All right, I will start with the monthly report. And October was a busy month for our building codes. We issued a total of 363 building permits, and 101 of those were single-family dwellings. I might add, that's the first time in many, many, many years, since about early 2000s, we went over 100 in 1 month.
Oh.
For a total revenue of $155,360. As opposed to this time last year, we only had 83. We did issue 1,079 electrical permits. We had a total of 1,858 inspections with a little over 10,000 miles driven.
Any questions for Tanya on that particular portion? All right.
Nobody has questions? Development tax, we collected a total of $1,125,000 this month. In October, we have a long-term stay facility that is being constructed inside the city limits of Murfreesboro, another new apartment complex in Smyrna. That accounts for those numbers.
All right. So that was just for October, $1,125,000.
And if you don't have any questions on that, we're going to zoning enforcement. Zoning enforcement, we did 221 inspections in the month of October.
And most of those look like, well, some re-inspections, follow-up, and then illegal signs.
A lot of our inspections are re-inspections.
Okay. Give us an example of what an illegal sign in the right-of-way.
An illegal sign in the right-of-way would be a garage sale, we buy your house, we'll build you a garage.
Okay.
We usually, those types of solicitation signs.
Is there a penalty for that?
Well, if we pick up enough of them, we'll give them a call.
Yeah.
Why? I'm sorry? Why? Just
We're
so they can come.
not taking questions from the audience just now, so thank you very
It's not
much.
just an audience, it's an open forum.
No, it's not an open forum, ma'am, so please just sit tight. All right. Any questions on Tanya's?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm new here, so what do we charge on an inspection? Is it $25?
We do not. We charge, once the permit's issued, it covers all the inspections. that
Okay,
are
but
done.
if they fail, what do we charge them to reinspect?
They get up to 3 inspections. So if it
Okay.
fails, it can fail twice, and then the third time, if there's any inspections after the third time, if it's for the same item. If the same items are not corrected, we would charge them a $25 reinspection fee.
Okay.
If we have to keep making repeat trips for the same thing,
And so do we do an insulation inspection?
we do.
So if they fail electrical, insulation, and framing, is that considered 3? And then
We
they have
don't,
to pay for the next one?
well, we don't do electrical, we do them all separate. So a framing inspection is done before the insulation inspection is
Right.
done. So we do a framing, and then we'll go back to do an insulation inspection. and then back to do a final. And so they're all separate inspections.
Okay.
However, having said that, if there's something on the framing inspection that we can catch on the insulation inspection, and it's something we can still see at the insulation inspection, we'll allow them to go ahead with the insulation, and then we'll catch it on the insulation inspection.
Okay.
So we don't have to make an extra trip.
That answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Tanya?
A little over a year, maybe a year and a half ago, we raised the cost of a lot of your permits and stuff.
That was
Is-
4 years ago. It was in
4 years.
2015.
So
yeah.
we should be able to raise it again now if we chose to.
I will leave that up to you.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I know we raised it to limit that time,
It was pretty significant.
and it's already
The
been
last.
4 years.
Yeah,
Is that with you or David?
that was with David.
That was Dave.
All right, we will need a motion to approve her reports.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Tanya, anything else?
I have one more quick thing.
All right.
As you all know, last year, about this time last year, we opted into a contract with the state of Tennessee to issue their electrical permits. They still perform the electrical inspections, however, we issue the permits. Of all the permits that are issued, the county retains $5 for each permit that's issued. That contract is coming up for renewal again January 1st. The terms of the contract has not changed, and it'll be another 12-month contract. So it'll be January 1st, 20 through December 31st, 20. And I just need your permission to move it on.
Are you satisfied with the current contract?
We are, yes. I don't think there's any change in it. It's straight across the board all throughout the state of Tennessee. We did issue in the 11 months that we've been doing it. We've just been tracking through October 30th, and we started December 1st. We've issued 9,700 electrical permits for a total revenue of $48,503.
Refresh my memory, did we hire,
We hired two
Two part-
part-time employees. Yep.
is the 48.5 covering their
More than covering.
salaries?
Yeah, their salaries come to about between 20 and 30.
Okay,
Total.
all right. So as of now, it's a profitable.
Yes.
All right. All right. So you're basically asking us to extend or,
Yes, we need to re-sign.
Continue.
We need to go into another contract for 2020.
all right.
So I just need your permission to take it to the county commissioner, the mayor, to
So
enter
moved.
into a contract with the state of
All right.
Tennessee.
Second.
Commissioner Blair, all right, and a second. All those in favor? Oh, should we do a roll call since there's much involved, or, I guess it wouldn't hurt.
Right.
Did Nick look at that previously?
He did.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
And Chairman Cush?
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya. All right. Doug, I'm gonna let you and Mike jump in. And then Katie, I'll have you on deck.
Sheila.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Sheila's going to join too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
We do have,
Yeah, I don't think we're doing it yet. Mitigations later.
we do have several things for your consideration today. We'll start off with the report for the lot inventory. You'll have that on your iPads. Of course, this is something we've been tracking for the last several years, and you're all obviously familiar with this. Consistent with what Tanya said, this was a pretty busy month. We didn't see any larger plats be recorded. When I say larger plats, I'm talking plats that had greater than three or greater lots. All the lots, plats we have recorded, there were several, but they were all like one or two lots or re-subdivisions or something like that. So we did see our total available lot inventory go down to 991. That's down about 70 to 80 lots from last month. So just to give you an idea, again, since we didn't have any plats recorded, we've been seeing more and more get recorded, which is why the number's been going up. Of course, when we start getting into this time of year, permits typically slow down, although, like Tanya just said, this was one of the busiest months we've had in quite some time. So that's reflected in the total available lot inventory. If there's no questions on the inventory, we will have 2 rezoning requests for your consideration at the Board of Commissioners meeting next week. The first is for property located along West Jefferson Pike. This is by Keith Barrett. He's asking to zone a portion of his property to commercial services. According to information that he provided, he'd like to rezone a portion of the property to operate his landscape company. He wants to construct a 3,000 square foot building for material and equipment storage. Incidentally, that's kind of how we found out about the business in the first place. He came in to pull a building permit. He was already in operation, has been for several years. We didn't get a complaint about it, so apparently he's not bothering anybody. But when we found out what he was doing, we counseled him at that point that he needed to make an application to zone the property properly. Hours of operation would be 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Most of the traffic would be first thing in the morning and the last half hour of the day. Basically just employees coming to pick up equipment and then leaving and then coming back to pick up their cars and go home. Access to the property would be along West Jefferson Pike and continue to be. There is an existing gravel drive that would access the business. Of course, if this is approved, it would have to meet county standards to that point, so access and parking, including that surface, would have to be paved. But again, that was something we would take care of at a site plan stage, along with landscape screening performance standards. There were questions about the layout of the property, of what portions he wanted to use for the business, and just reiterating that the site plan would be required. There were also some questions as to why he was only zoning a portion of the property as opposed to the whole thing. The applicant stated his parents own the property and they only want to zone the minimum portion of the property that's necessary. So after that discussion in the public hearing, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote. The second case is for property located at the corner of Cutoff Road and Lebanon Pike. Just for a little bit of background, and this is a PUD request by Blake Cawthorn for Judy Ann Cawthorn, who are the owners of the property. And Mr. Piercy, I believe this is in your district, and I know you're familiar with this request. Just for a little bit of history, the pattern book for Griffith Park, which was originally called Cawthorn Retreat, was approved back in November of 2015. The subject property that they're looking at was actually part of that plan development request. It was shown to be a commercial area. It was ultimately removed from consideration due to concerns from the native residents in the area. A few months back, this year, in July, they did present a request for rezoning the same property that was left out of the plan development to commercial services. Several people spoke in opposition, and after discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend denial. That never did make it to the County Commission at that point. They decided at that point that they would just withdraw the request and come back as a plan development, which is what this request is. They did have a neighborhood meeting, which is required by the zoning ordinance. There were the similar concerns in regards to the large list of available uses that were going to be permitted, hours of operation, lighting, flooding, stormwater, destruction of animal habitat, and several others as well. So the applicant did move forward with the request. There was a significant amount of discussion on this item, both from the public and among the Planning Commission. Again, most of those items that I discussed just a moment ago were discussed at length during the Planning Commission's meeting. Let's see, after the public hearing was over, the Planning Commission did have some questions about how the property was classified in our comprehensive plan, what staff had recommended, and then possible reasons for recommending denial of the application. There was also discussion on the standards for PUDs and how that all kind of played together and the timing of the development, which ended up being kind of the biggest focal point. The Planning Commission ultimately did recommend denial of the application. It was not a unanimous vote. It was a vote of 6-4 and 4 against the denial. So this is moving forward, but it is coming to you with a recommendation for denial. So I just want you to be aware of that. So those are the 2 items that we will have. There was a third item that was for a piece of property along Miller Road off of Epps Mill for a rezoning application. That was deferred. I mentioned it in the report, but there's not a staff report here, and that won't be coming before you next week. So I'll be happy to answer any questions on the 2 zoning cases.
questions for Doug or Michael?
The Griffith Park, I don't want to get, it looked like a pretty good location for a little commercial node. It fronts on 231, right? It doesn't front on Cutoff,
There is some frontage on Cutoff.
just the corner.
Right, but
With
now
the
any...
retention pond on that corner.
Right, now any access they were proposing would actually be internal. It wouldn't be either on Cutoff, and it wouldn't be on Lebanon Pike. It was actually going to be on Malcolm Way, which is the internal road that's being constructed as part of the Griffith Park
So
subdivision.
you would have to come off Cutoff, go through the subdivision,
Correct, or come off Lebanon
or
Pike.
231. I got you.
Yeah, no direct access onto Lebanon Pike with the plan they're showing.
And staff, your report will state that you recommend denial based on a plan or based
Well,
on...
the staff's recommendation was for approval, and that was discussed during the meeting. The planning commission recommended denial. And again, a lot of their concerns, I think, had to do with timing of the development, as far as not a whole lot of commercial already out in the area. I think that was a lot of the concern that they had. There is a small commercial business right across 231 property. Just they sell like little, I think, Dutch barns and things like that. It's been there for a while. It's been zoned that way for quite some time. I think it even predated the ordinance, the new ordinance. I think it was already zoned that way.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
All right, any more questions? All right, Doug, continue.
Do you want me to go ahead and go into the budget request?
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and we can vote on your acceptance.
That's fine.
We need a motion to approve Doug's report on this.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, Doug?
Thank you. I'll just jump ahead a little bit to the budget amendment. I'm not sure where that is on the agenda. I don't have that right in front of me, but we are asking for, thank you. Just jumping just a little bit. We are asking for a budget amendment to our fiscal year 19-20 budget. This is just moving money within budget. We're not asking for anything, any new funds. What you're seeing here is an amendment to provide some funds to pay for safety lights for the 3 leased vehicles for our inspectors that we just took delivery of within the last couple of weeks. Very nice vehicles, we're very happy with them, but they need the safety lights on top of the inspectors while they're out in the field. We have some extra money left over in the operating lease payments. That was budgeted for an entire year. Of course, since we just got them, there's a few months in there that we didn't have to pay any lease charges. So we're just shifting $1,500 of that from the operating lease payments down to $499 other supplies and materials to cover that. So that's really all we're asking for.
So it's $500 per vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Is that your only budget request?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Are these magnet lights, or are they permanent
No, they're
fixed?
fixed to the grill, the bumper, and then there'll be one in the rear window.
If we had requested them through the lease company,
They
would
could
they have been
have,
put
yes,
on?
sir. I should have done that, but I didn't know that was an option to have that done. So next time I'll know. But I thought we could use this money to put the safety lights, the extra money we had.
Motion to approve this budget request.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Let's require a roll call, please.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
And Chairman Krish?
Yes. All right, Doug, continue on.
I'm going to hand the microphone, so to speak, over to Mike to deal with
Okay.
the next issues.
Commissioner, Chairman Cush and Commissioners, this is Sheila Huffmeyer. She is our new Assistant County Engineer. She's going to be running our stormwater program. And recently we were audited by the state. Found to be in mostly good order, but we needed to make some revisions to our stormwater ordinance. And I'll let Sheila go into those, but I'll pull that up for you. And it's also on your iPad as well.
Right, so if you guys want to scroll through that, on page 2-2,
or Mike, you do that? And they can look.
Yes.
That's great.
2-2, yes.
Yeah. So basically, we need to make our language match what is in the TDEC general construction permit. And we had 25 feet, and the construction buffer in this section is supposed to be 30 feet.
And that was actually from a prior TDEC requirement where that's what they had originally, and we mirrored that. And then when they updated their permit requirements, we are now updating ours.
So it changed in 2016. So we just need to update that. We're already doing it. We're just
Yeah,
matching
we're
the
already
language.
enforcing, and what we're also doing, we're enforcing stream buffers on named streams and unnamed streams that have up to and above 1 square mile drainage basin. Under 1 square mile, we have a 30-foot stream buffer requirement, top of bank, out 30 feet on each side to preserve the trees, vegetation, and whatnot. And then also we have for a drainage area of 1 square mile and above, a 60-foot stream buffer requirement that we want to preserve the trees and vegetation to help cool the streams and keep the water, some vegetation to help filter runoff before it gets into the stream.
And those parameters that you just described are also TDEC or federal, or those
They're
generated in Rutherford County?
Well, those are Rutherford County, based on the drainage basin. The state has a little bit different requirement, but we have to go by the least restrictive, well, actually the most restrictive one, either us or them. So typically, we're a little more restrictive in buffer requirements.
And what you just described is not a revision that's taking place in this document? You're just
Yes,
informing-
our document used to say 25 feet.
That's the 30, but what you just described about the 1 square mile
Yes, that's
storage-
that's in our subdivision regulations as well.
Already there?
Yes, sir. And we're already enforcing that.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't describe the different buffers.
No, that's all right.
This one's a construction buffer for TDEC.
Yes.
But he's describing the permanent buffers, which is basically the same thing. We just have them defined on the plat as a permanent buffer. So we just need to update that. So we already require a 30-foot permanent buffer. The next change will be to page 2-5, which is where TDEC noted that we needed to define what a priority site was. We had a audit on our construction runoff program, and that was just one thing that they wanted defined. So we're adding it to the permit, and basically a priority site is a site that discharges directly into or upstream of an unavailable parameter or exceptional waters. So those are streams that we all knew as the impaired stream list. So basically when we do inspections, we are required to do monthly inspections on priority sites. So they want that to be defined. We start out monthly inspections on all of our sites. So we're more restrictive on what we require. So just having the language in here also helps us. So if we get really busy and we can back them down to quarterly or whatever we deem fit if they're not on a unavailable parameter stream or exceptional stream. So it gives us a little bit of leeway.
We
That's
like
what we're
to
currently
think all of our sites as priority sites. So
We're all special.
yes.
But yeah, so they just wanted that in there. And me telling them that all of them were priority was not good enough. So we added that in there. Next we'll go to page 4-3. And this is dealing with also TDEC general construction permit language, dealing with exceptional waters and sediment basins. So TDEC requires sediment basins for outfalls based on the drainage area to that outfall. So that's where all the water leaves the site, is an outfall. So at that point, we have one restriction for an unavailable parameter stream. It's kind of the same thing, or a different restriction on a stream that doesn't have any issues with it. So we needed to add that in there, that the outfall with unavailable parameters, exceptional waters, if it receives more than 5 acres, a minimum sediment basin will be required, And that should be, I'm sorry, I have a typo, but that should be a 5-year, 24-hour storm runoff event.
Yeah.
So the
We'll
equivalent
fix that
measures.
before it goes to the commission.
And then that's just describing what that 5 acres is. So that TDEC already requires that. When it goes to TDEC, they look to check to make sure that the sediment basins are on the plan sheets and everything. We were already doing it. It just didn't get added into our last permit,
So
our
those are-
last ordinance change.
You're not changing design guidelines that
No.
No, those, TDEC
These
already
have always
enforced
been.
those.
what you're already.
Right.
Yes, yes.
TDEC just said, oh, that was just one thing they picked when they came and did the audit. They said that language needed to be in our ordinance. And I think it just accidentally got left out in the last update.
And again, this is just during the construction phase?
Right.
Okay.
Sediment basins for construction.
So the contractor has to maintain during all
Correct.
that time? Okay.
To a high, it's a higher standard that they have to maintain if it's a,
Right.
yes, unavailable stream.
Right, so if it's just a
Excessive
healthy
water.
stream, it's 10 acres, and if it's an unhealthy stream, it's 5 acres. So if you're draining 5 acres or more, then we require sediment basins. And that tells us what our requirements are when we do our plans review and checklist. So as we go through and review the plans, we make sure that that's on there, and that's just one thing. But we've always done that. It just wasn't specifically written in our ordinance. Then the last thing that we have is page 6-3. Let me get on over to that. And we would like to have stream buffer protection signs added. So every 100 feet or as deemed necessary, kind of based on what the site layout would be, we would like to have these added. Nashville's been doing this for years. It's part of their education program. It's part of keeping that buffer protected. It's part of letting people know what it is and why it's there. I presented this to the Stormwater Advisory Committee, and they thought it was a great idea. So it passed unanimously. So then we brought it to the Planning Commission, and they thought it was a great idea. This would be for developers to install, or the contractors to install, if they're on one of those 30 or 60 foot permanent buffers, which was what Mike was describing earlier.
Like Nature Walk. Nature Walk's got, that would be one where you would give.
If it's got a permanent buffer, yes, we'd like to see these
Yeah.
every 100 feet or every other alternating property line.
Could just be property line. We just kind of have to look at it, but
Just as a visual reminder for the homeowner, say, hey, this is a preserved area, we'd like to keep this green vegetation intact.
and a lot of them now that I've seen have been have the walking path. They're close to the buffers, and then through the buffers they'll have little walking paths in and around through there. So I think it was a great opportunity to have some education signs out there for the public and for the neighborhoods. The only kind of discussion I guess we really got into was what if they fall down, or what if somebody takes it down, or what if I mow it down, or that was the only discussion we kind of got into with the Planning Commission. And we felt like it would go into the long-term maintenance agreements, that the HOAs would provide and take care of these in the long run, not Rutherford County or not the Highway Department or not any of our people or our departments.
Yeah. It's about the size of your iPad, and it just sits on a regular signpost, and it's just at the edge of this buffer, say, hey, this is an area we'd like to preserve and keep green. And we find that we get the most benefit from the stream buffer in our water quality program. It helps filter the water, it helps keep the streams cooler, and we'd like to see those preserved.
Is this only for the future construction, or are you going
Right.
to back up?
No, sir. No, sir. We wouldn't make it retroactive. It's anything in the future, once this gets approved, we'd go for it. And like Sheila said, they've been using it in Nashville for a decade and a half or more.
And so if a preliminary plat contained 100 feet, that would get a sign, as opposed to you're not going to go back and you're not going to claw back a previous phase or previous preliminary plat and
No,
have a developer.
just
put
from
that sign.
its approval date forward, we wouldn't, like Commissioner Piercy was saying, we would not go back on previous, even if it's a working. I wouldn't start on a nature walk or Creekside or something like that.
Clear Creek.
Clear Creek, yes, Clear Creek.
So you're going to require the developer to install these
Yes,
things?
yes.
Which are running about $130 a piece times every 100 feet on both sides of the creek.
Will that be paid up front on the permit?
Sir?
I said, when they have to pay for these things, will that be paid up front?
They would be installed with the construction of the subdivision, and then that would be an item that we would, make sure was in place before we release the lots for home construction.
I would liken it just to another street sign.
Yeah.
We have to do street signs. They're on the plat, and then we have to have them before they'll sign the final plat.
Right.
So it'd just be another checklist. So the developer would just pay for it and install it.
Right.
And during 3-year warranty, we probably have to replace them for 3 years.
Right. And like I said, it's a visual reminder, for the homeowner to say, hey, this is a green area, we'd like to keep it green. The hardwoods and the vegetation helps filter and cool the water.
Would it be a crime for somebody to move it, take it down, shoot it?
That would be up to the homeowners association. Yes, sir.
Would you not think that might?
Yes, sir. I could see some of these.
Small print on that
Yes, sir.
sign?
I could see some of those winding up in teenagers' bedrooms and whatnot, and in Targets. Yes, sir. So, but yes, that would be one of the items that the homeowners association would have to maintain, along with the detention ponds and the storm drainage networks and outside the streets and whatnot.
Any other thing for Michael?
Not on the ordinance.
Okay. Sheila, thank you. We need to make a motion to send this up to the full commission.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Doug, have you got one last?
Well, we've got one last item on the agenda, and that's regarding the discussion of the application process for FEMA mitigation grants for properties that have repetitive flooding issues. And I think we've got Tim Hooker here from our EMA. Is this open? Yeah. And I think Mike's going to kind of give some visual displays as well.
Pass these down if you want. Yeah, we are working with engineering we're here tonight to request applying for a mitigation grant. We've gone over a list of top contenders that have repetitive losses due to multiple flooding events on their property. Phyllis sent out notification to all of these that were on the top list to see who may be interested in participating in a mitigation grant. We got 7 replies back from that notification, which are listed here. This is a shared grant, so the federal government would pay 75%, the state would pay 12.5%, and the county would pay 12.5%. for the buyout of these properties. And again, these are repetitive losses where people have water up into their structure or into their HVAC systems and have multiple issues with mostly being on a karst system.
Yes.
And not in a NFPA flood zone, so designated, but they have continuous issues every time we have a rain event over that specific area.
So first one, I'll just jump in with Tim. The first one is at 5840 Washington Boulevard. And like Tim said, it's not in a FEMA flood zone. It shows as flood zone X, but it's in a older subdivision, I believe this one's from the 70s. The information that was available at the time was not as good, so a lot of these houses were built in bowls, essentially. This is from the May 2010 flood event. And then also this is from February, I believe, yes, February of this year. And this is pictometry images They've got water underneath their crawl space, gets into their ductwork, ruins their HVA system multiple times. It sits on their site several weeks. The septic system is impacted. They can't flush, can't do anything. So this is just an older subdivision. We'd like to see it bought out and become a green space with this grant opportunity. And I can run through the list of these. There's several of these.
There are 7?
7 of them, yes, sir.
They're not contiguous, they're all over, they're from Rockville.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
So
Right.
they're not in one basin.
No, sir. There is one right around the corner from this one.
Wait.
Oh, yes, sir.
Have the same people owned this home for the 50 years?
No,
it's been?
sir. No, sir.
It's changed hands?
It's changed hands, and I talked to the fellow this February when they had the bad rains, and he had been in the house 4 years, and it wasn't disclosed to him that it floods like this, and he, has had to replace his ductwork twice in the 4 years that he's been there.
He didn't bother to ask.
But they, the previous seller told him, said, hey, you're not in a FEMA flood zone, and he's not, but he's in a localized flood zone. And the next one is just down the street on Adams Drive. This house here, same condition, older subdivision from the 70s. The information was very sparse, but this area is a big bowl. With the Highway Department, Public Works, we've looked and looked and looked, trying to drain this area, and we can't see a way to help it drain. But this is at 5943 Adams Drive is the second one. And
If somebody else in the picture's flooded, they're
yeah,
choosing not to
they
participate.
chose not to.
Would it be easier to knock all the homes down and turn it into an estuary or like a bog?
Yes, when the houses are bought out, they would be demolished. The septic tanks would be pumped out. Before the demolition, they would be checked for lead, asbestos, and everything like that, and the homes removed, and then it would become a green space forever. So, and it could be parkland. County's going to own it from here on out. We can't build anything on it. But it, could be used for a park. It could be used for excavated for a retention area, something like that, for some additional flood storage.
But so Mike, the people that are obviously impacted but have refused, or I say refused, that may be a strong word. Clearly, they've been notified that this
Yes.
opportunity exists, right?
And this is completely voluntary.
Okay.
We're not forcing them to apply for this grant.
So how are these people notified?
Well, a lot of times they'll call us in flood events and heavy rain events and say, hey, my yard's flooding, my house is flooding, and
Okay.
we'll investigate and see what we can do to relieve the problem. And some instances like this where there is no solution, FEMA has come up with these grant opportunities to buy
But
these out.
I guess where I'm going is, are you 100% confident that every homeowner that is impacted is clearly aware that this opportunity exists?
Yes, we've sent all 3 of these houses that were impacted, and only the middle one, lot 153, chose to apply for the grant.
Okay, so if I'm the guy next door that today says, nah, I'm not interested in this, I'm staying. But the next flood comes and I say, I've had enough.
Then he can get on the next round if they wish to.
Yes,
If there is a next round.
if there is a next round,
Yeah.
yes, sir. There's no guarantee there will be a next round.
And they understand that?
Yes. Yes.
You could keep postings around, that way it's common knowledge of the area for everyone for like quite a while. And they'll see it every time they drive by, and that damn sign's there. If they're not thinking
The
about it. between
next
everything else.
one is on Roanoke Drive. Same situation, older subdivision. I believe this is from the 80s. into the ductwork, the HVA system. Gets up underneath the house. The house directly to the south has made an application. No, that's the house to the north, sorry, 9941. They have made an application to FEMA for this current year. We're still waiting to hear back from FEMA on this one. So this is another,
Yes, this is not a quick process.
No.
If this moves forward, it could be anywhere from 12 to 18 months to complete.
So are you limited to these 6 houses? Or these are just the only 6 that applied for the grant?
yes, sir. Right.
Nobody else has?
Well, actually, the county applies on their behalf, but they have to volunteer themselves into the program. So that's why we're here today, is to discuss our ability to be able to move forward to apply on behalf of these people for the grant, because the county has to be the ones to apply for it.
So you got 300,000 here. Is this number can go up?
No, this is anticipated based on current tax value and anticipated value increases over the next, how many months?
4 years.
4 years? Yeah, and then also demolition expenses, hazmat abatement, such as any lead or asbestos or anything that needs to be removed. All of that is included in the overall cost.
Pumping of the tanks, the tipping fees at the landfill. Since we don't have the county landfill anymore, we'll have to pay tipping fees at the Republic landfill.
And typically, when we've done these projects in the past, they've all ended way under budget. So this is just an estimate of what it would cost.
So when you've done this before, has anybody ever, excuse me, has anybody ever questioned the appraisal value of their house?
Not to my knowledge.
Not at all?
Assessment. You get that from the assessor's office.
Yes, we get that from the assessor's office.
Right. And then, we've got market value plus the anticipated increase over a few years' time that's going to take to work through this grant.
And does the grant remind us, because we've seen this before, Craig, I don't remember the disposition, but I had the same questions you had 4 years ago. Did the one that Matthew presented, did those get purchased?
We're still waiting on those.
But we approved 3 or 4?
Yes, yes.
They're still pending.
So this is
still waiting.
another grant season?
Yes,
sir.
Is there years between each, or you do it every year, or what's the?
They typically become available on an annual basis, but they're usually attached to an event. So like a lot of them we had came right after the Nashville floods.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then, so this won't increase, once this grant is put together, this won't increase, but next year somebody else could jump in and these guys could come back to it.
yeah, they always have the
Right?
option to opt in at a later date if they don't do it now, so.
But we own it forever, Craig.
Yes.
We mow
yes.
it.
We
maintain
have to, Public Works has to mow
liability
it.
or Whatever.
Right. It's just an empty field, and I'm going to zoom into some of the houses we bought on the previous.
Mr. Commissioner, what I'm nervous about is, I'm not nervous about anything, but $308,000 cost to this county. And that's, how many people did you ask to be on this grant? I know you got
believe
6
it was-
that asked for, but I mean,
Well,
how
there
many
was
did you
20
ask?
total.
20?
20
Right.
total.
Here on, off of Twin Oaks Drive, on what's still shown as Fair Oak Court, these were FEMA buyouts as well. These flooded, I believe might be in the May flood. But those were purchased and demolished, I guess, before that.
Were those the ones that bought the boat?
Yeah, I think they had to have a boat.
And then they were in a boat, it was so bad.
So this is averaging 44,000 each is our contribution. Had it been 20, it would have been 44,000 times 20. Is that where you're going? Is just
Yes.
how many millions could this
I mean,
get?
how do we budget that? That's what. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure when we go into budget, we don't know.
Right.
Like, did Matthews get put on the budget for like next year or the year after? How did,
It didn't go on our budget. I mean, it would be coming from the general fund.
we gotta make sure it hits, at least, I mean, I
Right.
don't know where
This
it was
this would go
last
next.
year went.
Next goes through the finance, budget
Budget.
finance committee, yes, sir.
I just don't remember seeing them in budget, correct?
Well, and then if you had contiguous lots, if you chose to dig and put a regional detention pond, that money comes out of where? General fund, or does
Most
it come out of?
likely Public Works Highway Department.
Okay. But you haven't done that to date on any of these lots, have you?
Actually, we have over on Deerfield, if you give me a moment, I'll get there. They did excavate out an area behind that Honda storage lot. I think there's a lot that we bought out, and
Yeah.
might take a second to get there.
Put those, basically.
But we
that comes
excavated
here.
it out. There's a few other examples like that. We, over excavated, so allowed stormwater to collect in that area, and it wouldn't reduce the flooding risk, but it would, reduce the frequency that it would happen. The smaller storm events could collect in there. But there is one, I believe, off of Gresham. Oh, this is up a little bit.
And you have to then you guys have to maintain.
Then
that.
we have to mow it, yes, sir. Public Way, it just they put it on their mowing schedule.
All right. So, it's a development faux pas that happened
Yes, sir. Several of these are,
back in the 80s.
yes, sir.
Which kind of seems to be the year that most of these were built. And now we have to kind of protect the general welfare, public health.
Hindsight's 2020, and this is what we look at very diligently. I mean, we look at the FEMA flood zone, but we also look at the potential for local flooding, because like Tim said, a lot of this area is just karst area that it doesn't drain to a river, a creek, or a stream. And
That's the issue. It's an underground cavern, if you will, and it depends on where a system stalls and dumps a measurable amount of rain, and it comes up from the ground and has nowhere to drain.
this lot 85 is a previous buyout that we over excavated. See, it's even got an address point.
How many lots do we own now?
That I don't know.
I'd have to go through.
We'd have to go through
Some data.
list. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. But the Highway Department and Public Works has stepped up and said, we'll just put it on our list and mow it.
Just off the top of my head, just since I've been here the last 14 years, I think there's probably around a dozen or 15 residents that I could think of. But
Has there been any consideration of taking extra soil and trying to push this water away from these houses?
Yes, sir. I mean, I've spent uncountable hours and probably days looking at ways to drain these houses. All these people are obviously upset. This guy, I mean, he just replaced his HVA system 2 times in the 4 years he's lived there. He doesn't know what he's going to do. I've looked every direction to drain out. I've worked with the highway department, looking at making roadside ditch improvements, piped improvements. But if you look, when I zoom out, this whole area it's subject to these karst pockets that just take forever to drain out. It doesn't go to a surface drain or stream.
Back out one more time, please.
Turn the address points off.
Was that Old Nashville Highway?
Yes, sir. Old Nashville Highway here. This is Florence Road, Broad Street, Nashville Highway.
So you can never build nothing on it? You can't sell it?
No, sir. We
You
have.
can't, can you not, like, give it to the city?
If they annex it, it becomes theirs.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yes,
if
sir.
they
Yes,
annex it,
sir.
then it's no longer our problem.
Yes, sir. Right.
Okay, but it has to remain a greenway for eternity. Every 4 years, we have to show documentation that it's still in its natural state. That's
Well,
part
they're
of
the
the
ones
grant
that's needing
agreement.
all the green space, so.
I mean, yes, we would still own it, but it would be, I guess, their responsibility. I mean, I don't know if the Highway Department Public Works would go into the city limits to mow it, so it would be something that their maintenance staff would have to take care
But
of.
they're moving that way, though.
Yes, sir, right. The yellow is the city limits, and they've just requested annexation for this area back here. And eventually, you'll see a lot of growth in this area because Cherry Lane's coming this way.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So it's going to be a pretty popular area pretty soon with the new roads coming through there. But there are a few others. There's one on Baker Road, a subdivision from the 1950s. It has this little house right here. Show you what it looks like on pictometry. Pictometry, we can see at a bird's eye view, and we can swing around and look at it. Their septic system floods, and it had septic back up into their house. So they can't flush, they can't wash, they can't do anything about it.
How long did that water sit there?
Sometimes it's a week or two. And this is another one that the Highway Department and the Engineering Department got together and tried to look to find a drainage solution, and it just doesn't have a way out.
That's a lot of mosquitoes.
It just doesn't look as dramatic as the other ones.
Yes, sir, right. But yeah, fortunately, the water has not...
Until the sewer backs up in your house.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and they've got young kids, and they're...
they've opted. They're in.
Yes.
650.
And then we've got one on Shadowbrook off Baker Road. It's down at the bottom of a hill. Let's see. And unfortunately, it's an older subdivision with it just there at the bottom of the hill. Everything drains to them, and there's not a way to fix the drainage. It's all downhill to them. And then the last two that we have are on Rockville Road, these two together. Let's see, get the address points. It's 11098 and 11046 Rockville. And if you look at the flood map, again, it says Zone X, not the flood zone. But, sorry, it's gone a little slow.
Where it's in the flood zone, it's just not a hazardous flood
Well,
zone.
FEMA says it's Zone X, but this is Concord Creek, and this is a major tributary to Concord Creek, and this is a big box culvert bridge to under Highway 99.
Is this the one where they stopped? Short of the
Yes,
study?
yes.
That it's classified as Zone X because I don't know if FEMA ran out of money or what the deal was, but they only went so far and then stopped doing a survey, so that didn't end up, it wasn't studied.
What that really means is people stop caring about it because they weren't donating the time or energy.
If you look, this is Concord Creek, and then here is a straight line indicating a cross-section of the flood study. Floodplains don't end at a flat line, is what I'm trying to say. They ended the study for a reason, but
And they can't get on your list. They can't be invited to consider this grant unless they've had confirmed issues.
Correct. Yeah, and they're going to have to provide documentation of impact. photographic records, bills, any
That's
kind
down
of...
there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
These are photographs from, and videos of the flooding. Sorry about that. It's, sorry. But I'll show you a few things. This is Rockville Road. Water is flowing over the top of Rockville Road. This is another picture of their backyard.
Back way down.
The two houses on Rockville Road, when were they built?
These are pretty recent. They are 2014. But they've got water inside the houses.
How many acres?
They are,
They're greater than 5, or they didn't see the subdivision
No, not
plat?
5.
So you guys didn't look at them?
I did not look at them. It was before my time, unfortunately. But
What's the TVA doing about all this?
Ma'am,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
ma'am,
Yes, sir.
you either stay quiet or you leave, okay? This is not a public forum. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to make comments. Do you understand?
so,
Yes, sir.
I withdraw.
Okay.
but there's several images of water. Unfortunately, they bought this new house, purchased flood insurance, but it was in that 30-day window that waiting time or whatever that it didn't kick in until after the 30 days. So they bought the house, moved in like a week later, and it flooded. So
It's not the way it's supposed to work, though.
No, sir.
On a new purchase. it's
that's
supposed
what
to-
they told
It's
us.
supposed to be immediate on a new purchase.
So how many times, sorry, Mr. Chair, sorry. How many times has this house flooded?
This time, early this year, but I do not know of other times. You can see the water line on the.
Mike, was this February?
This was February, March this year, and this is Rockville Road coming over Rockville Road.
Well, if the water is going over the road like that, then is that not going to be a liability coming up to us and fixing these roads?
What would normally happen, yes, sir. What would normally happen, the highway department, this is probably a police, sheriff department deputy closing the road off. We have to close certain roads that get overwhelmed in heavy rain events. So we have
You
to
see what I'm
close.
saying?
Yes, sir.
It's going to deteriorate the road.
Oh, yes,
It's
sir.
water
Yes, sir.
damage.
Right. Yes, sir.
All right.
That was the last of the two, the last of the 7, yes, sir.
So either you'd like for us to make a request, you're making a request to
Make
Be able to
application.
apply
To
on
continue.
behalf of these, yes, sir. And then this will go to Budget Committee on Thursday, and then through full commission when
All right.
when we get that approved.
All right. Well, it's not a fun exercise, but we're up against a natural.
Do you
Move to
three,
approve.
do you three feel like it's the county's fault that these homes are flooded?
That's a tough call, Commissioner Piercy. They were most of these were in subdivisions that the county did approve. Some of them do have a lot of age on them.
If we do this, we're more or less admitting that it's our fault.
No, I don't think so at all.
This is a voluntary program,
Yeah.
understand that, we've made these folks aware of this program, and that if they want to take advantage of it, basically all we're saying is we'll make an application for you for these laws. I don't necessarily think.
But we've
we're
done this
fault.
already
This has
before.
been done in the past, yes, sir.
So we've already set precedent.
But yes, sir.
And if anything, we're showing due diligence.
I know it's not going to help these folks, but we, like I said, we do work diligently to prevent this in the future. we make sure, and the planning commission works hard with us to make sure that we won't see this again.
And the tools we have today are, I mean, let's face it, especially with these ones back in the 80s, I mean, the tools that we have now, they didn't have back then. So we're able to catch a lot of these, whereas we may not have been able to catch them in the past.
So this is a plat from 1972, which has the house on Washington Boulevard, and it's essentially just a division of land. They do show some drainage easements, but I don't know what they were draining because they weren't draining this lot. But this one, I believe, did not have any minimum pad, minimum floor requirements, anything like that we make sure is on the plat now to protect the homeowners.
Was there a limit to how many could apply?
I do not know if there is. I
But it
don't.
depends on how much the grant is overall, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's,
So that would limit
Right.
it in itself.
this is it's a state grant, right?
It's just a federal grant.
This one's a federal?
Yes.
Okay, this is the federal grant, so we're,
What's the total amount of the grant?
it's like $240 million?
240 million, we just get a piece of that.
Right.
So-
I had no problem with the thing. I'm not having a problem with Commissioner Dodd and Commissioner Pierce here on budget and finance, is where does it get budgeted? What departments it come out? How much does it get budgeted? What could be the, you said 300,000 this time, but it could easily been 1.5 million had the other people accepted it. And, that's a penny and a half on the budget.
Granted too, understand that not everybody that applies will get approved by FEMA because they have to show proper documentation. They have to show historical records of bills, photographs of impact. There's a long laundry list that these homeowners have to provide FEMA for them to be approved for these projects. Not everybody gets accepted. So a lot of it's up to the homeowner.
But like, we don't get, and I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, guys. But
No.
That's okay.
So it doesn't give us any liability, like we're hurting the people's property value or any of that stuff? Because basically what we're saying is flood, and we're binding, you can never put nothing else on it, like the people that didn't want to accept it. I mean, we ain't got to worry about getting sued because they think we hurt their property value or anything.
Well, the letters we send out, we send out return receipt requested. So if they, we know that they're getting the letter. If they choose not to send it back, that's on them. And we keep a record of that return receipt request.
Okay.
And understood that this property that's being reclaimed, it could become a retention pond, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Right. Yes,
So
sir.
that might benefit the other neighbors that have had
Some
maybe
drainage issues. Yes,
some
sir.
drainage issues also because we've given them a retention pond.
Yes, sir. Like I said, it won't solve the problem, but it could help.
Retention pond really won't help because it'll have no spill.
Well, it will help with the lower, less intensive rainfall events, a place to collect.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Won't
Right.
spill.
No, sir.
Well, we have the same thing with some of our county schools. We've dug some retention ponds, but they don't have any place to go. They're just, they collect.
Right. Once you get so deep, you meet the groundwater.
Right.
And, and heavy rainfall events like we had this spring, I mean, the groundwater is almost at the surface, so there's not a whole lot of benefit to it, but
Well, these properties have to be fenced,
no, sir.
so you'll have a retention pond open to the public.
Essentially, it'll just be a wide, flat field.
So y'all will have a motion to move it to budget, right?
Yes, sir.
So
We already had a motion and a second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We good?
Thank you.
We'll talk about the budget
Since we're going to
too,
budget.
just kind of look at the
Really,
historical, look at what historically we've done, and just, we'll read,
Want to do a roll call?
Yeah,
we'll tackle it again.
I mean, I think
Gentlemen,
it's a
we're gonna-
budget and finance thing. more than
Gentlemen, we're
anything.
going to do a roll call since there's money involved, even though it does have to go to budget, and we'll have to do the same, so we're going to do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
And Chairman Cush?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Sheila, Michael, and Doug, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tim, too?
Yeah, Tim, thank you. And Tim and Toto, too, yes. All right. Denise, did anybody from Sims show?
I didn't hear it.
Anybody from Sims in the audience? All right. Katie, how about you enlighten us on part 2 of, are you ready to go? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. If you all will remember, Katie presented last full meeting on the fleet management and the national fleet card, and we had some questions that she was going to research. And so this is Katie, part 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for having me back. I actually brought cards.
Are you passing out fuel cards for us?
Just my card, you know,
Oh, okay.
for everybody to have my
All right,
contact
thanks.
information. All right. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe $300 or something.
We know this.
Might grab a glass of water here just real quick.
Okay, come here.
Okay. Let's see. Do you want me to wait for?
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
When's our next special meeting?
the 20, yeah. Do you have a calendar here? Oh, here, I got a phone. It could be Wednesday. Let's see. Is it the 13th?
20th.
The 20th.
Ma'am, we have a special call Public Works meeting for trash only the 20th of this month at 5:30 in this room. You're more than welcome to come to that meeting. We'll give you 10 minutes to present any information you would like to speak to us about. You're more than welcome to. It'll be your choice.
Okay, how long is the rest of this meeting going to be carrying on?
We have no idea.
How long, when do you guys usually curve it? Or how many, what topics are lined up right now?
On this meeting,
Yes, sir.
we have a landfill report, which usually is about an hour.
I'll say for that.
Okay, okay. You're welcome to, but I'm just,
We want to
would
extend,
offer
offer
you the
you to come
opportunity.
to our other meeting, because
to
at
voice-
that meeting,
You can voice your comments and your thoughts
whatever.
about other recycling things.
Yeah, it's online too. Thank you. all.
Okay, good.
Okay. Well, thank you guys again for having me back to talk to you about fuel management for the county. Let's see, so I guess the last time I was here, we did kind of go over the fuel card a little bit. I just kind of wanted to go over that again just real quick. As far as this card in comparison to what you have today, I did get transactions from D&D Oil from Steve Sandlin and reviewed those. I do have some information on that, which I'll get to at the end, towards the end of the presentation. But so the WEX fuel card is a national fuel card. We're the #1 fuel card provider in the United States. I believe Mayor Ketchrin used it when he worked for the Senate, I think. So he was very familiar with the WEX program. That's one reason why he was very interested in meeting with us. And one of the reasons is because we have a lot of tools for tracking. We're able, for the fleet manager, I guess, or whoever the person is in each department for the county, can view the fuel cards, the transactions on a daily basis as they take place. You're not, you can lock cards down to gallons per day. You can limit certain, departments to certain restrictions and things like that, which does prevent theft. I think last time we were here, that kind of got brought up as far as cards being lost or stolen. And things being purchased with them that they weren't supposed to be. So with our program, we're going to basically eliminate the risk. Not all the way, but it's going to help with the risk that you have with cards out there and people buying fuel. But our card is accepted at we have 11,500 locations in the United States. This card is not just for ExxonMobil, so it does go to 95% of fuel stations out there. I believe today the county is using 4 locations on the Pack Pride program. In the county, Rutherford County, there's only 4 locations. So this, we do provide the discounts at the ExxonMobils. So I work for the brand ExxonMobil, which we're trying to, give the discounts there. So it obviously directs the fleet to go, or try to go to that location, to those locations. Now we can lock it down to ExxonMobil only if you only wanted everybody to go there. We do have quite a bit of acceptance, ExxonMobil acceptance in Rutherford County. The biggest thing I think, and I kind of touched on this, is going to be the online account management piece of the program. Like I said here, I kind of already went over this a little bit, but set restrictions. You can also filter by department. You can run reports. Today I don't think any of that happens. You basically get, as far as what I was aware of, they were sending an invoice, and that's all that you saw. You never saw anything about what any of the employees were doing. So this is going to be huge, light years ahead of maybe what you're doing today.
When you are monitoring this, like for instance, it's $100 in the month of January, then it goes up to $600 in the month of February. Would that alert the department heads and all that? Okay.
Yeah. We have, you can set alerts. Now if you want the card to be not able to work after 5 p.m., if they try to use it, it'll say card cannot work at this time. You can set it to not work on weekends, card cannot be used. If it goes over, you can't go over a certain limit if you have limits on there. You can, view total transactions, as you see here, for each department. So we could set up each department with their own access to the online account management site where they can run their own reports and they can view their usage.
So when you're talking discounts, you're talking pennies off the gallon?
Yes. And you guys are on a little bit different program right now as far as savings goes. And I was going to get to that probably towards the end of
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Didn't mean
But
to.
yeah, no, we do retail price minus. So it's always the same, which is different than what you have today. So this is kind of what it looks like when you log in. So I wanted to kind of go through that because I feel like this is going to be the biggest piece of this program for the county. And for cost, control, usage, just visibility to see what everybody's doing. And I didn't want to bring my laptop and hook it up, so I just kind of took screenshots here for you. It's kind of hard to see, but you can, so this is like the reports that you can run, basically. So odometer, let's see, I can't even read it myself. I need glasses. Oh, goodness. So edit, order, terminate cards. So if you do have a card, somebody calls, says, hey, I lost my card, you can go right on here. You don't have to call customer service. You don't have to call and, sit on hold or whatever. You can terminate that card immediately. You can also do it, we do have mobile apps for fleet managers or whoever's in control of the fuel cards for that department. They can, if it's in the middle of the night, they can, they don't want to have to log into the computer. If they have an app they can do all this from as well on their phone. Let's see. So this is just kind of an example of what the website looks like, how user-friendly it is. And I can send this to you guys too if you want to look at it. As far as, you can also find accepting locations on this site. If you want to find, like, just for diesel fuel, it's also on here. Now this is Rutherford County. These are the ExxonMobil locations in Rutherford County. So as you can see, we have 19 ExxonMobil. So these are all locations where you would receive a savings. And, oh wait, sorry. And I think today there's 2 that they use in Murfreesboro, 1 in Laverne, 1 in Smyrna. And we do have also an app that I don't know if it can be uploaded probably to, like, if a police officer has a tablet in the car, I don't know if they can find where they can get fuel, which we're accepted at 95% of fueling locations, so it's really not going to be something. But they can also, with our app, see the price of the fuel. So if they're price shopping, it tells you what the price is that day. We do have loyalty and rewards for the employees of the county. So they sign up with this with their own phone number. Every time they go and swipe the card at an ExxonMobil, they put their phone number in and it gives them points back. I think I've used my card now 3 times and I already have $5 built up. So I can use that to buy food and drinks in the store. It's actually a pretty good perk, and it does help them go to where you're actually going to get savings. So for every 100 points is $1 back that they can use inside the store. Let's see. So, as far as the price goes, you guys, from what I had come up with, just on the Pack Pride cards alone, Rutherford County is purchasing, on average, about 25,000 gallons per month. That's not including on-site fuel. I think there are some on-site fueling locations for the police department, I believe. But we, going over the D&D transactions, I did see that. So here's the thing, it's hard for me to say exactly what you're saving because there's no receipts. There's no way for me to say, because you're on a cost plus savings program, it varies from transaction to transaction on what your savings is. So without having the receipts to know what the price of the fuel was compared to what you're paying for it, minus taxes, because I did notice that, they are doing the net taxes, so that's good. But I think that was one of the things that you had found one time. Now, there were a few transactions on there that didn't look like there was taxes taken out. So I don't know. We can.
I'm gonna come up and help Katie out.
Okay.
One reason we looked at this is because we didn't feel like we were getting everything that we needed from D&D. But I think one thing that WAX has helped us do is get more stuff back from D&D that we weren't getting. As far as reporting from department, we're getting that broken down now. We can actually take a look and see, okay, why is it $7 and something here? Who's going to fill their cart with $7? So something else that they're purchasing or whatever. Well, that's DEF fuel or it's oil. So we went back and looked at these things, and so we're matching it up. So we're not getting that where I thought may be some other purchases in the stores or something. It's fuel or it's oil or it's DEF fluid or whatever like that. It's because Max, trucks and diesel, they're going to need DEF, in the newer models. Otherwise, they're just diesel, and then we've got those numbers down and everything. But what we want to do is try to see if they can match what we're getting, because we're getting rack rate less a number plus no taxes, but we're limited on areas on where we're getting fuel. So if this will help us out in a different area, maybe we do a pilot program with one department, maybe solid waste or maybe property assessor's office or building codes or something. But we just wanted to get this presentation out here to you, see what y'all think is public works, whether we need to look any further or not. And if you do think you want to do something, we can take it under advisement right now and talk about it and see if we want to do a pilot program with one of the departments or two or something and try it out for a quarter. I wouldn't want to do just a month. I would want to do, something a little longer than that, whether it be 2 months or 3 months or something, so to see what it's doing or not doing.
You wouldn't want to do a pilot till you figured out what it was going to cost, would you?
That's right,
Up
and
front.
that's what I'm saying.
And you didn't get the information until you asked from D&D, right?
Right, and we got that information and we sent it to them, and that's where they were going to do a cost comparison.
We
from
did,
what-
yeah, and like I said, we tried to, but because it's on cost plus pricing and I don't have receipts to match it up, it's average. I could give you an average. It does look like you're saving on average about 10 cents per gallon. So you're on a cost plus 15, which, I mean, I took a sample of transactions and took out the taxes and kind of, went back into the
Right.
numbers that way, and then took an average price for the fuel because I didn't have a receipt, so I don't have an average retail. I just took an average retail price to compare it to.
It'll show on D&D.
Exxon, y'all a nickel off, what was your deal?
Yeah,
Nickel off?
it's so, and it's through the enterprise program.
Is it 3 cents on?
It's 5.
5 cents.
Only at
Exxon.
Exxon.
ExxonMobil. So
It will show on D&D, it'll show the price per gallon, and then it shows your total number, and then it gives you the gallons as well,
We're on
so.
the commodity, we're a penny, we're a cost below market.
it's just hard to determine what
Right.
cost is. That was kind of my thing. Cost varies.
D&D bases their price on daily trading.
Yeah, so every day.
That's the reason it's different every day. That's
Yeah.
the reason you can't get a flat rate from him.
Right,
So-
I'm not taking up for him, but I buy gas from him.
yeah.
So it's for resale.
Well, we've gotten more comfortable with D&D, with them sending the reports that they need to be sending. So that's a good thing. But I also see good things on what WEX is doing that could be beneficial to the county. That's what I'm saying. If you want to take it under advisement, you maybe want to think about whether we do a pilot with a department or something to try it out, or if we're happy, we're happy. But it looks like we need to make sure their numbers and our numbers are the same numbers that we're comparing to before we make a solid decision. But if we do anything, we don't do it across the board. We do a pilot program with them just to try it for a couple of months with maybe a department, so.
Is the two positive here, one is a detailed report where everything goes, where everything came from, what it was spent for. You'd be able to, there's columns after columns of detailed information.
And there's more control. With our program today, you don't have an online account management like
That's true.
like we do. I mean, you can actually run specific reports if you only wanted to know mileage for the building and
What we
codes
have
department. You
is
can
we
do that.
have a tag number and a driver, price per gallon, the gallons and the price total. So that's all on a sheet, and I can bring y'all or send it to you, a spreadsheet to show you a sample spreadsheet from D&D.
As far as our present contract with that supplier, running a pilot program for part of the government, is that in violation of that contract?
I don't think it would. We'd make sure before we did it, though.
Okay.
So, and also cost savings is going to be location, convenience of, so if you're paying an employee $20 an hour and they have to drive 30 minutes to get fuel, that's, $10 lost. I couldn't really put that into a exact amount that you're spending or right now, but the convenience is going to be, and the control is going to be a big cost savings. I think, I don't know if this is correct or not, but I'm pretty sure last time I was here, he said that Max said there was a card lost or something last time, and last year,
Car stolen or
$6,000.
something on one point, and yeah, that,
$6,000.
Yeah,
And that's a year's worth of savings right there.
yeah.
So if you did a pilot program with a particular department, do we have enough information from that department to compare with the pilot, with that quarterly? Would we be able to mesh those
We
numbers?
could do year over year.
Yeah. Yeah,
possibly.
'cause we're getting monthly reports, so, and it breaks it down
So
in each department, each
do
driver,
have some
each
savings
vehicle.
here.
And that's what's gonna, what brought us to this also is the enterprise program that we're doing on our new fleet management and vehicles, that they've been working with Enterprise on their stuff as far as working those gallons per mile, you know, on newer vehicles and everything, where you're gonna get a better ratio. So, and
Yep.
keeping up with it and what the issues are and when they're having problems when this vehicle is taking more gas or using more oil or doing whatever, so it's more detailed.
I got
through-
one more
through-
question.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get how much off at the pump?
So at the ExxonMobil locations, it's 5 cents per gallon.
And all the other locations is pump price?
Right.
I see no way you can compete with D&D Oil because he owns the 4 stations that you're purchasing from today, and there's no middleman. And we're going
And
to
I
have them, we're
did
going to
do
have
an-
middle people at all of these stations.
So you're not going to pay anything more than what, I mean, today, I did an analysis on what you're paying today, and the average was about 10 cents off per gallon. So there's no, because the cost changes, the cost can be anything that they want it to be.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saving, your cost plus 15 cents is, it's hard to come up with exactly what the savings is, but like I said, I took an average retail price of Tennessee, compared it to what you're paying today, and you're about 10 cents below what you know. So yes, we are maybe a little bit more than what you're saving today, but this is going to be, it's not 10 cents on every transaction either that you're saving. That's just an average. I mean, this is going to be flat 5 cents. Plus, you know, you're going to have the convenience to go to 95% of locations in the United States.
Are you going to charge us for this service?
No.
Not the county? You get all your money through the gas?
Right. So WEX and ExxonMobil, we make our money from the merchant fees. So we do charge a percent that they already take our card. So they pay, it's actually less than a MasterCard. It's 1.5% on each transaction that they pay. That's how we make our money. So on this program through Enterprise, we will be waiving all fees that are applicable for the life of the account.
So we're not charged a fee as
No.
far as Rutherford County.
No.
So it's just a,
We wouldn't have been up anyway.
right.
So you're not charging fees to Enterprise.
No. So because you guys we're doing an Enterprise program, because Enterprise is actually who brought me into the situation. That's kind of our partner program that we are offering. We're waiving all fees for that program to Rutherford County.
So no charges for cards if we were to get those and
Right.
put them out to all the employees?
No,
or
yeah,
whatever.
there's no monthly card fee. There's no.
5 cent savings and then whatever goes back onto that, so,
I
to the county. but-
would like to take this under advisement, take no action tonight.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, let me ask you one question for each part. Do we spend a lot of time on the payroll side for somebody to go through these reports monthly and funnel all this information from D&D into a readable report? I mean, is that?
It's coming from D&D.
And
And the
it sounds
report-
like maybe now it's better than it used to be because now there's a competitor that
I'm
we're
afraid
talking
nobody's
to.
ever asked them. I think we just ask them. It's been.
Well, I think finance was
It's a
getting-
system that's not broken, and now we're talking about fixing it, so perhaps.
From my understanding, finance was getting what they needed,
Okay.
you know, to pay the bills. But as far as the checks and balances, it went through the department heads that were, you know, getting the fuel. So like solid waste would have the report there for all of his trucks.
Yeah.
And, you know, is something that abnormal out of this as far as this truck's using more oil than it should, or DEF or fuel or whatever, then they could spot that. But As far as a person, I don't know if a person in finance is actually going through these things on a, Linda goes through a per department.
The way the D&D, for our department, we have 5 different budgets, and we have fuel spending 3 of those 5 different. Most departments with only one budget, they won't have a problem. Where we have a problem is if 3 different budgets go get fuel on the same day, all of those wind up in one invoice number. So when the invoice comes in, it shows all of that right there. And if you pay it that way, then you're paying all that fuel out of one budget, not the proper 3. So we're splitting ours back out, and that's a little issue for finance. But the way to fix it, because we talked about that today, the easy way to fix it is what we did with gas and diesel. Split it all out, and you get an individual bill for each budget, and you're good to go. Our diesel bill for the garbage truck for last month was below $17,000.
I was thinking I saw that broken out that way though from D&D.
Yeah, the diesel works out easily.
Yeah.
All of it's in the same budget.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to each individual department. As far as, do they have troubles finding locations to fuel at? Do they ever run into those any kind of issues? I would like to talk to whoever's handling the fuel cards at each department's location. Do a tutorial, see if they're having issues with the invoices, see if it's taking them extra time to sort those out. That would probably be next steps. As far as, or if we wanted to do a pilot program for one department, I'd like to meet with the specific department and kind of see what their process is today.
I think the mayor's trying to make it more efficient and, more checks and balances so that we have a better budget at the end. That we're spending our tax dollars wisely. So that's the whole purpose for any program. So this was something for you to look at and analyze it and see if you want to do something or.
Katie, let's talk to Steve and see if there's a department that makes sense to try a pilot program.
Okay.
We certainly probably wouldn't want to jump to the big one.
Right.
And find a medium user perhaps.
Sure.
You need to look at either ambulance service or fire department. That way you've got those vehicles going to separate locations. My department all comes back to one. Most everybody else's department comes back to one. Mm-hmm. You need to do that example in the multi-location.
That might benefit them more just because they're out.
Yeah.
Or they're north, south, east, and west of the county.
They're county-wide, but they've got multiple locations.
Yeah.
So next steps, we'll just follow up. I'll just follow up with you guys and
Want to see where we're at. Thank you again for having me. Yep.
All right. Mr. Nolan?
Call trash.
How are y'all this evening?
Good, late.
Oh, it's just now getting started.
I know.
You're on
Prime time.
You're on the clock, Mac.
How are you?
Good.
Y'all ready to take a break?
No, let's go.
We got about 2 hours to go. Y'all ready?
Let's go.
Okay.
Plow through it.
All right, first thing you should be looking at is the landfill report. Landfill report is what it is. The only thing we're accepting is brush and tires, and we're not charging ourselves for brush, but everybody else is paying. So we've got some free disposal there coming in from ourselves. If you'll look at the next page, that's going to be your monthly report. Which you can see there's not a lot of revenue coming in out there. And if you look at the page after that, we work one Saturday a month. And you'll see the Saturday that we worked, one whole lot going on. So in the future, between now and the spring, April is when we normally start our summer Saturdays opening. We need to have a discussion whether we want to open on Saturdays or not, or that one Saturday a month. But that's not a discussion for tonight. Any questions on the landfill report?
Let's go ahead and get a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, Matt, continue, please.
This past Saturday was our household hazardous waste collection. It was literally the last one in the state of Tennessee for this year. We've been fortunate enough to have one in April and one in November. We had 345 households attend that event between 8 a.m. and noon, so it was kind of a steady stream all day long and a pretty well-attended event. We're still not collecting paint, but we still had a world of people showing up with paint, just being hopeful, I guess, and leaving unhappy. But let me take this opportunity. If you have latex paint, which is water-based paint, nobody accepts that. The only way to get rid of it is to dry it yourself. So you can add additives to it, you can add some kind of absorbent with it, or you can take a large piece of plastic on a warm sunny day, open it up, stir it just like you're going to paint with it, pour it out in a thin layer. It will dry just as quickly on that as it does in your roller pan when you go get a drink of water and you come back and it's dried up. And keep adding those layers till it's dry. Leave the lids off the cans, let those dry as well. Once it's all completely dry, you can wad it up and put it in your trash can and throw it away with your regular trash. The latex paint itself is harmless. The liquid is the problem. So you're just getting rid of the liquid. If you have oil-based paint, which most people do not have any longer, you can call the Rutherford County Solid Waste Department office and we'll get you an appointment to bring that in. The state provides that. We collect it, and we box it up, and we'll call them to come pick it up, and then it goes to be taken care of. But that's the ways to get rid of paint.
All right, Mac, you said it goes somewhere to be taken care of. I'm curious as to where your household hazardous waste and your oil-based paint, where is that place that it goes to be taken?
Most of it goes to incineration, especially the paint. They'll burn it. The hazardous waste collection, of course, they divide that stuff up into different types of things. So you've got all your regular engine oils and hydraulic oils, diesel fuel, all that will be mixed together. Your flammables, like your gasolines, will be separated, and then they send all that to be destroyed. But the answer to where it goes, I don't know. The state has a contractor that does that.
So herbicides, pesticides, all that?
All that. Medications.
Yeah, good.
And we don't have the number of how many pounds was collected, but
So it's all private?
the state provides that for the counties. Now, our Haley Road operation where we collect televisions, that's the reason we collect televisions. If you don't collect televisions, or you have a place for the boat bays, the batteries, and the oils, and the paints to go, then you will not have a household hazardous waste collection.
Yeah.
That's the reason we started that, to have to keep having collections. We had to do that part.
All right, so moving forward, as this committee begins to weed out and get to a decision on where this county needs to go and then goes to full commission, we'll need to ultimately know, the HHW will ultimately need to know how to handle that in terms of, are we going to just continue to do what we're doing now, or is that something that we'll just need to have a better feel on how that's handled in the pesticides, herbicides, the oils, because, technologies that we've talked to up to now, they don't want it. They're not going to take it.
No, that's true. That's true.
You can't mulch it. You can't fuel it. You can't. So we need to have a better understanding.
Yeah, it needs to be kept out of the waste stream as much as possible. The way we're doing it currently is the TDEC allows us to have 2 collections a year. They had grant money out there in the past, and they asked us multiple times if we would apply for it, and we have chosen not to. It's a $500,000 grant, and you can have a permanent household hazardous waste facility that you can have open as often or as little as you choose. That $500,000 will help you get the building built and not much more than that. So we did the math on it, what it would cost if we hired that state contractor on our own to come and do a collection quarterly. it would be much cheaper for us to do that than it would be to own the actual facility.
Okay.
Could we get grant money to hire him,
To hire,
the subcontractor, or contractor?
I didn't even
I'm
look
just
at, I
curious.
didn't even look at
Would
grant
you have
money
to
for
use the
it.
$500,000 to do brick and mortar, or could you use it to?
Oh, yes, it's,
buy a contract?
no, it's about for a facility.
Okay.
So you'd have to build a facility. And then the $500,000 would last more than a year, and they wouldn't do that.
Can you get those numbers to us?
Yes, sir.
I'm curious to see what that would cost.
Yeah,
The-
so,
When we did the math, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, we looked at it, it was going to be less than $100,000 to do 4 collections a year if we paid for all of it.
And we can get a grant for 500?
We can get a grant for 500 to build a building, and then after that, we're on our own to take care of all that and paying the labor. And then you're going to have hazmat trained employees in there as well, so that's going to be a fairly decent salary. So
We would still have to pay for the disposal of,
yeah.
I think so.
So these are the kind of questions we need to start asking. Because if we had our own integrated management system, whether it's us or P3, and we're trying to do it all, this is certainly part of the puzzle.
The hardest one.
Yeah, it's part of the puzzle. So we need to start to understand cost. If we were to build our own facility, or if we were to build a transfer station, we would need some local point to transfer or have people bring this material to us, store it, and then, like you said, maybe once a quarter, somebody comes and takes it out of state somewhere or does something with it. We need to know.
Most of it goes to be incinerated.
Okay. We
In a
need
waste
to know,
energy
we
type
need to be
facility.
responsible enough to know if it's generated here, where ultimately it ends up. We need to know that. We need to be curious about that. And the costs associated. So yeah, we need to start finding out some hard numbers so we can.
And get the employees, the benefits, you know, what it's gonna cost. Because you
Okay.
just said we gotta have a special employee. So that's a substantial amount of salary,
Because
right?
if you're accepting all these different chemicals, then somebody's going to have to have the knowledge to know the acids from the bases and what you can mix and what you cannot, and to keep them separated and keep them ventilated and all that kind of stuff. That's not just your average run-of-the-mill person. That's going to be somebody that has to be trained, and that somebody is going to want a day off. So you're going to have more than one somebody that does that.
And you're gonna have to have a truck that be able to carry it.
Not if you have a permanent facility, everybody brings it in to you, and then you have it shipped out somewhere. You have a contract, you still have a contractor to come get it.
Yeah. And see, he mentioned medicals just a second ago, which opens up a whole nother topic. I mean, if institutions are part of our solid waste stream,
that would fall under commercial, would it not?
yeah, commercial, or if a hospital's
Well,
if it's an institution or a commercial entity.
In our collection, we still collected sharps. You got a lot of people that have to inject themselves, and that's part of that.
Mr. Chairman, would that not also, is that not revenue? Can we not make revenue off of that?
You're trying.
People bring it to us and we gotta pay for it to dispose of it, and they pay for, you know, they have to pay us.
On the medical side, I'm sure there's a market for that.
Human hazardous waste pickups, collection, day.
I mean, if we gotta pay for something, somebody needs to pay us to use it.
Yeah.
Is it generating electricity, or could you find?
But then-
That's maybe.
So that's what I'm saying. We as of right now, as we get to the end of this 2019, now we got to really start breaking down all these components of our stream, right? We haven't really talked about construction and demolition waste to this point, because you know the technologies we've talked to up to now, they don't want to touch it. They can't deal with it, but it's a big part of the stream. The folks, like when we went to Cerebral, folks, they're grinding that up, putting it in the landfill. There's got to be something we can do with it. The cost of grinding it, I mean, we got to start finding out what all these costs are and what the machinery costs are. Because if we want to do this on our own and not be part of a regional solution, we got to start finding this stuff out. So you've got the C&D. We know about the organics, right? We know about the food waste and the organics. That can be made into mulch. That's a big part. That's probably 45-50% of our waste stream, maybe, close. It's a big portion, those two items. But then the rest, you know, we got to deal with tires, mattresses, furniture, and then medical waste. Because we, you know...
No, wait a minute. We don't have to deal with medical waste if we leave commercial alone and just take care of the residents of Roosevelt
Well,
County.
but we have to decide what our customer's going to be. Are we going to deal with commercial, industrial, institutional, or are we just going to talk about residential?
Well, the other night when you weren't here, we didn't come to a conclusion. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but the comment was made we needed to worry about our convenience centers and the trash we had to take care of and let the commercial people keep using their commercial vendors that they're using now till we could get on our feet and see if we could use some of their business to help fund or whatever we were going to do.
Well,
But at this point, residents is going
is
to be a handful.
is our first
Yes.
folks we have to take care of. I'm not disagreeing with that, but if we're going to be trying to put together a financial package and figure out what infrastructures we need, what it's going to cost, the big picture, how we're going to pay for it, then we need to be looking at all potential, not just residential.
Let me go back to Commissioner Harris for a moment. You mentioned a revenue stream. A household is conditionally exempt from household hazardous waste. So if you have pool chemicals and pesticides and all those cleaners under your sink, you can throw those in your trash and it's perfectly legal. We don't advertise that. We don't want people to do that. That's the reason we do the household hazardous waste collection, to get them to bring it in. So that's one thing that you would not want to be part of the revenue stream, because you would kill the process of trying to get it out of the system. And if we do our own system, you know, or waste energies or mulching or any of those others, we don't need any of that in there. You know, a lot of it's going to be education, but you know, to get the people to understand that it's just not the right thing to do. Yeah, that's part of it. Not trying to be argumentative with you whatsoever, but you know, so like medical waste, if you wind up, heaven forbid, with a cancer situation and you get sent home and you've been doing chemotherapy and some of that other, and you wind up with adult diapers, where's that go? Goes in your trash can at home. If you live out in the county and use one of our convenience centers, that diaper winds up in our trash compactor. And a lot of times when we get to Middle Point landfill, it sets off that radiation alarm. So now that compactor's quarantined. And it has to sit and wait for the half-life to run out, which is fairly quickly. It's usually a week or so, or less than a week. So for our situation, it's not that detrimental, because you set that compactor receiver box off at their landfill, and they'll call you and tell you when it's time that you can come and dump it. For the city of Murfreesboro, or one of the front-end loader trucks you keep picking up and out of an apartment, that truck is quarantined now. Now you've got a truck out of your fleet tied up. So that's the reason we need to try to educate a lot of the public in what can and cannot happen. But the residential side of it is a lot less stringent than the commercial side is. The medical waste can be a big problem for us, but as long as we handle it correctly.
I'm getting us off track. Mac, you've got a convenience center report to...
Yes, I do.
My apologies.
That's fine.
I get passionate and then I get off the rails.
Let me get passionate for a moment.
All right.
Sunday, October 27th, we had a driver that wound up getting carried to the Vanderbilt Hospital by a life flight and died on that following Monday morning. Mm-hmm. Saturday, this past Saturday, was his funeral. Young man, 21 years old, every driver wanted to go. We can't close our centers for a funeral. The residents just would not understand that. So we have roughly 70 employees, and we reached out and touched every employee to let them know that we really needed to let the drivers attend this funeral. So we started early, 4 o'clock Saturday morning. All the trucks hit the street, and we started dumping all the full compactors, and I dispatched myself. I was at a household hazardous waste event, but I dispatched from there and knew which packers was going to have to go that day. And we went ahead and started hauling the ones that were gonna have to go. We hauled enough open tops to keep the centers open, and we had all the trucks off the street by about 12:30 to where everybody could go. As far as the general residential person in Rutherford County last Saturday, they never knew the trucks left the street. The team pulled together and made that happen. Now, move forward to this past Sunday. Got a call from the ambulance service. We picked up this gentleman, and he has your business card in his pocket, and here's his name. Yes, he's one of my drivers. He died yesterday. So we've lost 2 drivers on 2 Mondays in a row, and we have another funeral this coming Saturday, but it's going to be in Shelbyville. So I don't know how we're going to pull it off to be able to get to the funeral and keep the centers open, but we're going to do our best. But I just wanted to give praise to my team that we had a tough situation to face, and we made it work. We made it work.
Could you let us know what happened?
I'd rather not talk about what happened. It's kind of personal with the families there. But it was not job related whatsoever, and it was not drug related whatsoever. Now let's talk about convenience centers. This past month, we hauled 196 loads of compacted trash and 653 loads of open top trash and 61 loads of school trash. So collectively, that's 3,795 tons of trash. The reason I'm bringing that up, I'm gonna go back and read what you talked about on, if we looked at waste to energy or compostable stuff, our compactor trash and our school trash would fall in that category. So if you took the compactor trash from the centers and the school trash collectively, that's 2,500 tons. And then versus 1,277 tons for open tops. So open tops is roughly roughly half again of the usable trash if you're going to do waste to energy or something like that. That's a total of 910 truckloads. And cost us $123 an hour and change to operate a truck. So that gives you a rough idea of what it cost us to operate last month. And that does not include any of the recycle hauling.
What is that based on?
What is what based?
$123 an hour.
Glad you asked.
Man's pay and what else?
If you take our convenience center budget, which it has our drivers, our convenience center attendants, the cost of the operation of the centers, the trucks, the maintenance of the trucks, and everything else. So that's a loaded up cost. And then I actually track the working hours, the actual productive hours of each truck every day. So at the end of the budget year, I'll ask finance to give me the amount of money that we spent totally out of the convenience center budget. And I have the truck hours, and I'll divide that into it, and that's where I come up with the cost per hour.
Trucks pay for the whole operation.
Well, I understood. Just took it all and put it in a pile, divided it by truck hours, and
Right.
it was up to $123.
Mhm.
So there's no way it would cost $123 to operate one truck, 1 hour,
Correct.
you know?
Right.
And we're paying $75 an hour
Yeah.
for truckers.
Right. It's just,
But
it's just an easy way to compute it.
Right, but it's a loaded
But
up
it makes
cost.
it, but it makes it sound bad. It makes your trucking sound high.
I like to use that number with my employees, because if we're gonna haul it in the truck, you need the load to be full. So what we did Saturday was we hauled loads that weren't full just so we could make them last. But normally we want a full load, that way when we're going to landfill, we're carrying a maximum capacity. Any other questions on the convenience center side?
Anyone? Need a motion to accept that report?
So move.
Motion and a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
And to go back and talk about your fuel discussion y'all had earlier, more than the locations that we have would be very beneficial. You've got some ambulance service stations that are scattered out throughout the county in rural type areas, and you have some fire department stations that's similar. So if that ambulance goes and makes a call for whatever reason, I don't know if they fuel up on their way back or not, but they most likely do. I'd say that those emergency equipment are probably going to be sitting there with a full tank of fuel. So if they're fueling the way that our trucks fuel, that means they're coming all the way into town to fuel up and go back to where they have to go. So, you know, more opportunities to fuel near their location. That's the reason I suggested them for the pilot. Now, Sims was on the list. I did not talk to anybody at Sims, and I haven't talked with them for quite some time. When we started, before we had Haley Road, we started collecting televisions right after Christmas, thinking we'd get them all finished. And Sims took that first round of televisions and all that electronics from us. And since then, when we put it out for bid, they have not bid on it. And the reason a lot of companies don't bid on ours is we run 60 to 70% screens, televisions and monitors and that type of stuff. That's not the valuable commodities that everybody else wants.
Wayne, you and I have both been through Sims. It's a super cool facility in Laverne. It's one of the largest e-recycling facilities in the East. They primarily do phones, computers, laptops. They will scrub businesses, software, hardware. They even refurbish and then sell laptops and other items of value on their own eBay website. They do not take televisions, and you're right, they don't take screens. They take huge printers, like our printer downstairs in the mayor's office. Huh?
So coffee makers?
Yeah, and they will
take laptops.
They do take laptops, yeah.
It's a different screen.
Yeah, but big monitors or television, TV screens is not their bailiwick. They have a subcontractor that takes the TVs. But they really, truly are a huge operation. And like I said, the largest recycler of materials, at least east of the Mississippi. And they're right here in Laverne. It's one of those quiet companies that you don't know anything about. I've done a separate tour, and I know you've done at least one or two.
Just one.
Right. And down the street, one of their partner companies does a ink cartridge recycling, and they're one of the largest in the country as well. It's cool stuff right here in our county that we could partner with. It's pretty neat stuff.
Our current vendor for electronics is Dynamics, and they have an office in Nashville. Their main office is in Wisconsin, and that's where most of the dismantling actually occurs for the electronics. The residents of Rutherford County are actually getting a good deal. When we started that contract with them, they were charging us 25 cents per pound for televisions and computer monitors, and then paying us for the other items. That went up to 33 cents a pound on the televisions and monitors, and we're paying 15 cents a pound for copy machines and fax machines and things like that. And we've never changed our price. We're still at basically 25 cents a pound. And the way we did that to make it easier for us is it's $5 per 20 pounds. That we deal in $5 bills, no change, no dollar bills, anything like that. And it's kind of ironic. We're accepting to recycle electronics, but we don't have the capability of taking plastics. We have to take cash or check. We don't have the way to do the credit cards or the debit cards. But, you know, you're looking at revenue, that's another one that at some point we may need to look at and see where we are.
All right. Do you have anything else, Mac, report-wise?
No, sir.
Have we approved everything for you that we need to approve? Okay. One thing, Mac, that was on the agenda, I believe, last month, we didn't chat about, and I'll see if you want to bring this up now or table it till later, I believe, was state issue IDs at convenience.
That was actually the month before we discussed that. If you remember, we brought it up trying to figure out who can come in our centers and who's a customer and who isn't.
Right.
We don't have a really good way of keeping people out. The discussion came up was, you know, if Mr. Blair comes in, he's got an out-of-county license plate on his vehicle. He borrowed his brother's truck, whatever the reason. Oh, I have a out-of-county license plate or driver's license. You don't change your driver's license every 6 years. And a lot of people, when they move, don't actually update theirs like they should. So the driver's license really isn't a good form for us. You know, so, you know, we don't know what type of form we need to go to. And eventually, I think we're going to have to go to a pay-as-you-throw type system. Don't know how we're going to collect that money, but, you know, a user fee type thing. If you use it, you pay for it.
I think Sumner County uses a camera system, and they take a picture of your license plate, like the red light cameras, and they send you an invoice. I believe it's Sumner County that does it that way. So.
Now, some of the counties at their landfills, not at their convenience centers, their scale operator runs your driver's license through their scale machine, and it collects your information that way, and they can track who you are and how often you come and all that kind of stuff. And then if you got through the first time, then the next time you put that in, no, it already flags you, no, this driver's license is not allowed in here. Now, to do that at each of the centers would be a little cumbersome, and it would create longer lines because you're going to have to go through some kind of toll booth, turnstile, something.
Sure.
And if we go to something like that, then you're going to have an exit right at the entrance. To where if you get a vehicle in that's not allowed in, then you got to get them out of line somehow without sending them all the way through. So, you know, we've got a lot of things to talk about and figure out. Yeah, a lot.
You'll have to find you an app for that.
Yeah.
There'll be one out there somewhere.
Well, I don't do apps very well, so.
It may just come down to getting some kind of placard that you hang on your mirror, like when I park at Greenland parking lot. You know, if I don't have one, then I get to pay, or I don't get to park, or they wave me in. So, you know, it may be that you have to go to the trouble of actually going and proving that you are a member of our county community before you can identify yourself to do that.
Lisa Kroll and I had a little discussion about something similar to that. You'd have to buy so many of those, and they'd have to be coded in certain ways. It can be done. And she gave me the vendor's name that we could reach out and try to talk to. And then, you know, the thought was if when you go renew your driver's license, you get one of these. And then it's going to have to be color coded in a manner and dated in a manner to where, just like the sticker on your license plate, the center attendants know, yep, that one's a still good one, or no, it's not.
Sure.
And the other thing that depends on how far you want to go with it, because our centers are for residential use only. So when you go to purchase that tag has to be registered to a vehicle that is registered to a residence, not a business. So if it's registered to a business, you cannot get that placard.
Sure.
The downside to it is once you get it, are we going to come up with the technology, the scanner or whatever, to make sure that that placard is hanging in the car it was bought for? How deep do you want to go? You know, so we've got a lot of struggles. Yeah. And then again, what I suggest is we figure out who we're going to work with, and then what garbage are we going to worry about. And if we can figure out those two answers, a lot of other things come off the table. You know, the size of all of our facilities will be determined by whose garbage we're going to deal with.
When you say who are we going to work with, are you talking about a technology, or are you talking about cities?
Other government partners within the county, yes.
Because state statute, as a county, we're responsible for the trash countywide.
For residents.
For just residents. Good.
Only our convenience center trash, right?
Our convenience centers, the state does some good things, and I like some things they do. They leave you a little wiggle room. In the annual progress report, used to you could calculate it yourself. Now they calculate it for you. But there's two ways to calculate how many convenience centers you need. You can do it by the population of the county, or you can do it by square miles. And when you do it by square miles, like the city of Murfreesboro does their own collection, so you can take out their square miles. Percy Priest, you can take that out. Smyrna Airport. You can take out, I mean, you can take out everything that's not a residential and narrow that down. All I did was took out the city of Murfreesboro's numbers. And by square miles, we only need 9 convenience centers. Now, if we'd actually did it by population, we may not have enough. I don't know. We haven't done that number. But at some point, having every resident try to come to a convenience center on a weekly basis or more twice a week basis may not be the right thing to do. And that'll be a decision we'll have to make at some point as well, how we're going to manage that.
Have we started our Leanna project?
We had the meeting last Friday, which was the pre-construction meeting to actually get everything started. But as far as moving any dirt or anything, no, sir, we've not done any of that yet.
So we're going to have to decide very quickly.
We need to start making.
Are we going to partner with the cities in terms of a solution and pooling our money to do integrated solid waste management?
Right. And the term integrated is just that. We have a large, wide variety of different types of trash to get rid of. So there is even landfilling. That's what we do with most everything. But even landfilling, it doesn't take care of everything. You can't put your hazardous waste there. You know, so we got to look at what are we going to do with each component.
When crystal ball.
He looked at my bald head and said that.
Yeah. Shiny crystal ball.
There you go.
When can we be ready to make a decision on who our partners are?
I don't know.
What do we need to make that leap forward? Because, you know, I talked to the cities are saying, we're waiting on Rutherford County. They say, you guys are driving this train.
Mm-hmm.
We'll support you in any way we can. You guys are driving this train. And I agree. We need to be the ones driving.
All right, let me give you an example. World according to MAC.
Yeah.
I'm the county organization and I'm responsible. So I go to the Blair community and say, Blair community, I want you to partner with Rutherford County. We're going to take care of our trash problems. I don't know what it's going to cost yet. Not sure what we're going to do yet. But I need your commitment right now. Can you give that to me?
No.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to know how much it costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now-
we can do, you can have all these technologies
Okay.
and all these ideas, but if you don't know what it costs.
You're exactly right. But let's get the cart before the horse. Until we say, Mr. Technology that has all this cool stuff, we can't say, we got to know how many tons we're going to process first. And they can't nobody can give us a legitimate proposal until we say, are we talking about county tons? Or are we talking about county plus city tons? Murfreesboro. Are we talking about Murfreesboro plus Smyrna, Laverne? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to decide on, I want your proposal based on 5 gazillion tons. Nobody can give a legitimate proposal until we say, this is what we want a price on. And that's so, we
Well,
gotta
What is the
decide that.
350, what's the 350 tons?
350.
You tell me 350 tons a day, what is that, who's that consist of?
That's roughly, that's the tonnage from the city of Murfreesboro's collection of garbage, not their mulch, and Rutherford County's collection combined. Roughly 86,000 tons per year. And now, you know, we get asked real often, you know, what's your average tons per day? Depends on which day you're asking for. City of Murfreesboro runs Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Rutherford County runs 7 days a week. We can't dump anything after 11 o'clock on Saturday, and we can't dump anything on Sunday, so we're swapping loads. So we generated 24 loads Sunday that won't start getting dumped till this week. So that tonnage per day for Sunday is going to get spread out through the rest of the week.
So we can all agree it's just a absolutely complex problem.
Yes, yes. Now, to give you an example, I've been in the garbage business for a long time. I know a few people. So after we finished our meeting a couple of weeks ago, I had to go do something, but I called a sales rep, and I said, Rutherford County wants your company, which it's not Republic, to come and do a proposal. Take care of our garbage. Okay. How much tonnage you got? Don't know. How's it gonna get delivered? Don't know that either. So where are you gonna put it? Don't know, but we want you to give us a price. And that person said, Mac, you know I can't do that. That's exactly what you're going to. So we've got to make some of those decisions before we can ask them to give us a reasonable price.
But hypothetically, if every community contributed, we're looking at 330 tons, 330,000 tons a year. Is that, or
No.
is it 400,000?
Well, what we've been discussing, and we can do whatever y'all choose to do, residential tons.
Right.
So out of the 350 to 400,000 tons from Rutherford County going into Middle Point is not all residential. You've got a lot of industrial stuff. You know, what's your residential tonnage for the county? I don't know. Most of it's done privately. You know, so
We're at 86,000 tons, Murfreesboro and Rutherford County per year.
that's what we were
That's,
last year.
That's dump trucks picking up, convenience centers and garbage trucks picking up and delivering to somewhere.
Middle Point.
Is that 86,000 tons?
That's what it was last year.
Our baseline.
Yeah.
But what did the 330,000?
That's the amount of trash generated within Rutherford County. That's not, most of that is not handled by us. Our number is included in that tonnage. Now, the numbers, see if I can find it, I don't think I still got it.
So 350,000 tons goes to Middle Point? Is that the?
Actually, the tonnage from within Rutherford County was down a little bit for 2018 calendar year than it was from 17.
But it goes to
But the
Middle
Davidson County number was higher.
But it goes to Middle Point?
Yeah.
So there was a total of about 1 million tons going into Middle Point last year.
Between Davidson County and Rutherford County was a little over 800,000. And then you had more than that.
The other total 30 entities that
Right.
was.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, here's the thing. I'm trying to understand. If I want to build a recycling facility, a composting facility, a gasification facility, I agree with you. We got to know, I don't want to build something and then 10 years later, we got to add on to it. Because population ain't going, it's going to grow, 22 people a day. So if somebody comes in and says, I want to build you a recycling facility. So if I say, okay, how much does it cost? And then we'll say, we're doing 350, so we say 700 tons. Would that be a fair thing, or
Well,
am I being fair saying that, or say it's 1,000?
Well, I can tell you what our tonnage is. You know, what we recycled last year was less than 10,000 tons. Now, what did we recycle? Glass and paper and plastic and tires and foam rubber, bicycles, you know, a whole bunch of stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff that we recycled won't go through what you would call a recycle facility that normally does paper, cardboard, tin, aluminum. You know, tires doesn't go there. Bicycles don't go there. You know, foam rubber doesn't go there. You know, so we've got a very varied thing that we've got to deal with. So we've got to make some decisions on who we're going to deal with and where all these commodities are going to come from. You know, we may need partners that bring in commodities, you know, either trash or recyclables to make something work. You know, it's not something that we really relish the idea of having here in the county. Commissioner Peave last month mentioned, you know, up around Laverne area. I'm not sure Laverne would like to have it, but I saw where he's going with it. If you're going to bring it into the county, just barely get it into the county. Don't bring it all the way through the county. You know, so I thought that was a pretty good thought there. If you're going to do waste to energy, you're going to need a user for it. You know, if you're going to do composting, then you're going to have an end user for that product once you're complete with it. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we've got to figure out, and I don't have an answer.
And recycling, from everything I'm reading these days, is almost non-existent. You know, there's no place to send it.
I read some numbers. I had a resident ask questions today, and I pulled the numbers and answered their numbers for us. If we take it from our convenience centers now, one of our roll-off loads of good, clean plastic goes to Waste Management in Nashville. They don't charge us any, if it's good, clean plastic, they don't charge us any processing fee, and they give us nothing for it. And it average weighs about a half a ton a load. If we take a single stream coming from the school system, and it's a good, clean commodity, we pay them $37.50 a ton to take it. We're paying them to take recycled. If it's contaminated, we pay them $150 a ton for that percentage of the tonnage that's contaminated. Glass, we're paying I think it's $45 a ton to get rid of that. You know, so I think we need to continue doing stuff like that, because eventually those commodities are going to change and the market's going to come back, and we're going to figure out what to do with those things. And we have part of our residents in the habit of doing it. If we stop doing it, it's going to be a nightmare to get everybody started back.
So are the metals the only thing that are profitable?
They're $2.50 a hundred. So no, they're not really profitable either.
But they're the closest thing that is a break even,
And cardboard and paper, I got the thing today and I didn't look at it. Last month we received, I think it was $15 a ton for cardboard and $12.50 a ton for paper, I think is what it was.
So see here, again, you see where the dilemma is. You pull the recyclables out of the waste stream, but yet there's no market for them.
Well, what's blowing my mind, Commissioner, because you just said we got to pay how much for it contaminated?
$150.
And then they turn around and bring it back here to our landfill.
Yeah.
So I'll be public right here. My drivers have been asked, look at that load. And if you think it's going to be enough contamination in it for them to charge us, take it on to the landfill. Don't even try to go recycle it.
So, I mean, you can't mulch it. They don't want it. Right? Best thing you can do is burn it. Try and make energy out of it. But then now you're talking about a technology that's got a lot of zeros at the end.
About 600 million.
But then also you're talking about, okay, this is not just a residential fix. This is a county fix. Maybe county plus some other neighbors bringing material in to pay for the technology. The more you talk about it, the more difficult it becomes.
It's very complex. I think we got to get parameters. I mean, my head's spinning right now. You just told me some things I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I come in here thinking I know, my white horse, like I know everything, and I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really, totally, it's changed the way that, because I had no idea.
Now, y'all keep coming across the fact you don't know how many tons. You don't know how many tons. You know how many tons you take, correct?
I know what we do within my department, yes, sir.
And what you do justifies what we're supposed to do for the county, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the city knows their tonnage if they choose to jump on this bandwagon. So you've got your tonnage right there. You've got it. You've got your number. We're not responsible for the inner cities. They've got their own deal, other than what they throw in our compactors, right? So that eliminates.
Yeah, but where is their waste going, Commissioner?
What difference does it make if it's not going to cost you?
Well, it's going down the street from where you live, right?
Hopefully it'll go away. You'll be on somebody else's street.
I agree 100% with what you're saying. I was in a meeting last Thursday. There were several solid waste directors met in Gallatin, and it's at a facility that does electronics, and their employees are autistic people. Most of the employees are college graduates, very intelligent people that don't interview well at all, can't get jobs. So they're helping them do the jobs, and they're teaching them how to dismantle these electronics, and they wind up going to the same place that we are. So as we concluded the meeting, I asked all the people that are sitting around, I said, where does your trash go? I went around the room, where does it go? Of course, City of Lebanon was there, it comes here. Our trash comes here, Murfreesboro's trash comes here, and one of the Sumner County cities' trash comes here. Everybody else was going somewhere else. I said, so y'all are not worried about Middle Point closing? We're not worried at all. I said, okay, when it closes, my trash is going to your landfill. Oh, we don't want it, don't need it. Okay, now you got a little more concern there. So that's the reason it's kind of a regional problem, because there's a lot of the region doesn't come here for trash. But if Middle Point stops tomorrow, then the rest of the region gets affected by where we send it to.
But don't the landfills that are in Tennessee all have an expiration date from 8 to 10 years? Because then you're looking at transporting this out of state or somewhere else. Because right now, if it takes 5 years to get a permit to build a landfill, am I close?
You're not far off.
Okay, so then we're looking at 8 years. I think, to my understanding, I'm getting this information from GNC or whatever. GNRC. So based on all the landfills here around, it's about 8 years. So when Middle Point closes, they're going to be closing right behind it.
All the landfills in Middle Tennessee. If you go to East Tennessee and West Tennessee, that's a whole different ballgame. East Tennessee's got hundreds of years of landfill capacity.
In East Tennessee.
In East Tennessee. Now, your trucking cost to get it there is going to kill you.
See, that's the only thing. I know where Commissioner Piercy's going to, and I mean, the things that scare me about shipping is you don't know the tipping fee, and you can't guarantee it. Am I correct on that? You correct me, I have no problem.
Okay. No, you're
All
right.
I know is that at 350 tons at $60, that's $7.6 million a year that we're looking at. That's what I'm worried about. And then all of a sudden, okay, we're raising it to 70. Now we're raising it to 80. And that's what scares me about it, because I just don't know.
Right.
Well, something you're overlooking
Fuel costs.
is when Republic, should they close their landfill at Walter Hill, they're not going out of business. They will open another landfill because there's too much trash in the Middle Tennessee area. It probably won't be in Rutherford County, and it could be, who knows? But it will be somewhere. It won't be over in East Tennessee or West Tennessee, because Nashville's not going to pay to truck theirs that far. Look how much trash Metro's got. They'll build another landfill. Or they may all retire and go home, who knows? But I feel like they will build another landfill, and it will be in the Middle Tennessee area somewhere. May be wrong, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I agree with that, but
good business for
but
them
they're
to build
gonna-
another landfill.
they're gonna charge us.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing I'm worried
From
about.
their
is simply-
closure, on, whatever we do is gonna cost. It's costing you now. It's not free. He's got a $6 million budget, $6 million budget. It's not free today, but it's gonna cost more than that, for sure. But, to think that there just be no place in Middle Tennessee to throw your trash away, I can't believe it. I really can't.
Still the cheapest thing to do.
Private enterprise will step up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing, is if and when Middle Point closes, I would expect that the other tipping fees in Middle Tennessee is going to go higher.
Sure.
Have we ever
Theirs
said,
went higher when you closed yours,
Oh, absolutely.
just like that.
Say it.
Middle Point takes, did I hear 1 million tons a year?
Roughly. It varies.
880, whatever. We've got the biggest trash player in town here in business. Have we ever had them at the table to just brainstorm with us?
They can't come because we don't know how many tons.
Have we had them? Can we get the biggest professional in the town that's already a partner at the table? and
We've had them at the
brainstorm?
table in the past.
We've had them in the past.
And they've not come up with any creative.
Yes, the Middle Point 2.0 was part of that discussion.
With the jet fuel?
No.
No, not the jet boat.
Buying out ours and
Oh,
do a swap or something.
okay.
I mean, I'd like to hear from Republic and Waste Management. I'd like to hear from I haven't even heard from GNRC. Rebecca gave a,
She's supposed to be here
oh, so you
later
already
on
got
this month.
You already got a schedule?
I think she's coming in for the
20th.
Yeah.
20th, yeah.
I'm like you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. The more we talk, the more it grows.
So we're having to provide solutions.
Sure.
Or we're having to provide, or we're having to quantify to get a cost, or we're having to get a cost to get a quantity. Is it time to get Republic at a table on a Wednesday, or an extra meeting, and get Waste Management at a table at an extra meeting, get Becky at the table? And
Becky's coming the 20th.
and
the mayor's
reinvigorate
his
these guys providing some solutions?
December the 3rd.
The 3rd.
The mayor is. And do you know what that consists of, Steve? Or are you willing to share with us?
The
Those
blank.
two, it's not.
Is that this plan, or is that a mayor's plan?
The mayor's plan,
His recommendation.
his recommendation is here.
Public Works on December 3rd? Are we still meeting our extra meeting
And that's on the
20th.
On the 20th, Bill.
of
Of November.
That's when Becky's going to be here. with
Didn't make my
GNRC.
calendar, so we did lock that down.
You sent out the media and all
You
that
and I,
stuff.
we kicked that around before.
Yeah.
Been, I guess you've advertised.
20th
It's
and
been advertised all the way through
December was
through
it.
Do
January.
you,
Make sure you send it.
But if,
So third
do you
Wednesday.
think we should have like, if we bid stuff out, do you not think this committee should have a spec sheet, that we're on, like, we want this?
A scope,
Yeah,
scope of work?
I mean,
Yeah, we should.
we want this, and if this is what you're bidding on, we don't,
We're not ready to write one, but yeah, we do need one.
yeah. That way we know we answer questions.
right.
Well, and the first thing is, these are our estimated tons.
Population of our county is what, 320 now? Or is it 330? Anybody know?
300.
Yeah, it's like 314, I think, is the last I researched. So, and then what do you do? What's the multiplier?
Yeah.
We want to build a facility for 2 generations, 3 generations? What's
Would
the
it be
multiplier?
4 tons? To my understanding, it's 4 tons per year per person.
That's a number, and it.
That's a number.
Yeah,
If
it
we said
depends on what region.
5 times 22, which is 22 people a day is what we're growing based on the census. I mean, can we not use that formula to get a little idea of something?
Over the,
Good at math, is
this,
it?
this number is going to be when we were doing the GBB study, which is almost 3 years ago now. But we were averaging 3.03% increase in trash per year, every year for the past 15 years. That's a 45% increase over a 15-year period. And we're still pretty much on track with that.
So how does that correlate with population growth?
Recycling is taking it out of the landfill, and population is putting it back.
So what, in 20 years, we're supposed to surpass Knox County? Is that, or was it 30 years? There was a study by a group not too long ago that projected Rutherford County to be larger than Knox
I
County.
think the chamber has that information.
What is the population in Knox County?
No, sure.
I don't know. So you want to go ahead and request that we get, well, we got Becky coming from the 20th. And you say mayor's on December 3rd. Is that?
That's the regular meeting.
This regular meeting? Okay.
Becky's coming on the 20th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we want to go ahead and send out a request for Republic at a mid-month, at a special meeting?
You might want to wait, hear the mayor's.
Unless you would rather have the mayor on that 2 weeks after your regular meeting, but if you want him then, we'll do it at the end of the agenda, however you want to do it, Mr. Chairman.
My opinion is, I agree. Bring Republic in, bring Waste Management, bring GFL, they're the new player in town, bring them all in. But just like Commissioner Harris said, we've got to have some parameters first. Give them a target to shoot at. You can't just say, we're going hunting.
Yeah.
You've got to have something to hunt for.
Okay, well, how about we bring the cities in and sit and chat with them? I know Piercy's going to roll his eyes, but do you think it's not best to sit down with Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and the other bigger cities? And
Well, that, I agree, but that was probably after the 3rd and listen to what the mayor's has,
okay,
what he's got to,
Yeah.
to
yeah.
GNRC on
Ever roll my.
GNRC
Capable
on
of
the 20th, Mayor on the 3rd. That's the next two agendas. A component of the next two. Then we go to January
What's the December date?
the track we've been going is 2 weeks. The
We're
Wednesday,
third
Wednesday 2
Wednesday
weeks after.
through February, we decided, or something like that.
So the 18th would be December if we stay on that same schedule.
Correct.
Right.
It's up out of the Christmas week, isn't it?
So
It's
the mayor on the 3rd has a recommendation.
Bah humbug.
Becky on the 20th at the special waste management meeting. I would like to consider Republic on the January,
The December.
December the 18th.
And
December 18th.
send an invitation to Waste Management to sit down and chat with us there.
Either that night or a separate one.
You don't want them both on the same
Yeah, they'll
night.
kill each other.
Do waste management in January.
It's too much information anyway.
And my thought is we've got one entity in town that knows how many hundreds of thousands of tons are coming. Institutional, they've got methods of handling all the waste streams in other states. Is it time just to have a conversation, if they're willing? Put out that invitation, if y'all agree.
I mean, because if it's just county, then we don't really have to fool with curbside pickup, do we, Matt?
Have to.
So we don't have to?
We don't have to if we deem that convenience center style is what the way we're going to go. And if we grow in population as we think we're going to, then is that really the right style?
Yeah.
To my point, it was to partner county with Murfreesboro,
Yeah,
not leave Murfreesboro out.
right, okay. So,
We know those tons.
We're
We
going
know
to
what we're doing.
keep, we're going to keep him on track.
so, yeah, so, and Murfreesboro already addresses curbside pickup, but we'll have to explore curbside pickup, transfer, treat, and then end user. If there's an end user to something we're gonna do.
And we've got 86,000 tons with Murfreesboro and the Rutherford County that we're obligated to handle. I
That
want
you
the
gotta
public to tell us what they recommend for 86,000 tons other than dump.
But that's the day's tons.
Correct.
We've
And
got,
it's going
we've
to
got,
go up
we've got,
percentage.
we've got to put on a population multiplier, and we need an economist to tell us what that is, or we'll ask the chamber what their projections are.
We've got a
for
waste
population.
management professional or industry in town. Maybe they can help
They
us
should-
with
they
how
should-
many
they
tons.
should know that.
If they've seen Nevada grow at a
Yeah.
certain rate, 20 years ahead of us, maybe
Yeah,
they've got some.
they have propeller heads that cipher that stuff all the time. Yeah, that's Jethro math right there. So that's our action plans?
The mayor's recommendation, Becky, and then we'll see if the professionals want to meet with us.
Okay.
So you want the 18th of December? So we can go ahead and get that out.
Republic.
Bring Republic, maybe they'll bring us a Christmas present.
Yeah.
We don't want a Christmas present.
We've already got the meeting secured. Did you go?
Yeah, it's already
A few
in that
months
packet.
out.
I went to February. They're
We've
leased.
got the meeting publicly notified already, as far as,
Commissioner Harris, we discussed household hazardous waste. There's a few counties that have that permanent. So would you like for me to reach out and get their budget? for that
I would,
operation
I mean,
budget?
I know I sound like, I need to know what it costs. I mean, it comes down to taxpayers and they're paying for it. And, you know, we need to know what it is. And if you want to go to the transfer station and all that stuff, I need to see what it costs.
Okay.
Because I mean, Mac, there's like five, to my understanding, I'm sitting there looking at it, it's like 5 different options. You know, we got GNRC, a regional plan, we got Republic, Waste Management, we got do it ourselves, transfer station, ship it. I mean, we got a lot of things to talk about.
We got
In 1 hour, I agree with you 100%. if we're gonna be part of this Public Works Committee, I mean, we just have to sacrifice, we gotta do what we gotta do. And I know we all got lives, especially me, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
Well,
Commit.
Yes, sir, absolutely, commit.
we have to establish an action plan every meeting and make a step forward. You know, sometimes I look back and I think, what did we accomplish? And it's a lot of times because the more we talk, the more problems
Absolutely.
reveal their heads, and you think, geez, am I making any headway? But I say that, but then also look, we have interviewed a lot of folks. We have researched a lot of things. So, I mean, I feel good about what we've done. It's just there's so much to do.
And there's a whole lot of stuff out there. I got 2 calls today. One from a company that's wanting to send some information. He's supposed to send an email either today or tomorrow, and I haven't gotten it yet today. And they had a lady call, and we had a good conversation about trying to do some other things that's a little bit off the beaten path, but it's still options that can be done. So, you know, I'll talk to anybody about it. You know, so not all of it we can do.
Any other business?
Please don't bring up any other business.
5 after 8, all right. Well, seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, thanks, gentlemen.
Who's second?
Are you Jeremy?